So you made quite a splash when you were there describing the Trudeau government. I wonder if you could recapitulate how you described Justin Trudeau and this Liberal government.
Yeah, well, the Citizens Initiative was actually regarding the World Health Organization and the WEF and other United Nations affiliated groups sort of infiltrating sovereign nations in Europe. And it was all about how European nations do not want the WHO interfering with their sovereign countries. And a part of that was some people were speaking. And of course, my dad was invited to speak to kind of the consequences of having governments implement very totalitarian trending restrictions, mandates in the name of health. Of course, what they're doing is they're stripping rights and freedoms in the name of your benefit, of your safety and your health. Um, but of course, it's a power grab. So, what I spoke to was the consequences. My dad is facing up to 10 years in prison for a thought crime, for speaking, for inciting mischief. That's a thought crime. He said words that the government doesn't agree with. And because of that, of course, all of this was regarding the COVID stuff, the COVID mandates, the truckers, and he just said words that the government doesn't agree with. So we don't have free speech in Canada. We don't have freedom of religion. And I was just explaining to the parliament that we don't have our rights and freedoms in Canada anymore. They were taken away in the name of health, in the name of our safety and benefit, and we were stripped of our rights. So I explained to the parliament that what is happening is tyranny. We're experiencing tyranny. Trudeau is a tyrant. The local governments are no better. They're also tyrannical. And because they're, of course, the provincial governments are actually potentially even more tyrannical than Trudeau because they're the ones that imposed most of the mandates and restrictions that took away our rights and freedoms. So I was explaining to the parliament, these politicians are tyrannical. Canada has fallen. Trudeau is a Caligula.
We are all lost as Canadians. If a pastor goes to prison, what can they do to the rest of us? For giving a sermon in Canada, it is no better. They are no better than the tyrants of old. So please, I ask you for help and to pressure Canada on this matter and to help us deal with our oppressors who act like modern-day Caligulas. Trudeau is a modern-day Caligula.
He's a mad emperor. He's lost his mind. And we're in a very bad position as Canadians.
Nathaniel, you had to go to the European Union Parliament to get people to stand on their feet and cheer, and to see how your father is being treated, not just unjustly, but ruthlessly. Did you get any feedback, any pushback from the Conservative Party of Canada, from Pierre Poilievre? Is there anyone there supporting you?
No, the Conservative Party doesn't support anything we're doing because they're only, at least from what I've seen, they're only conservative in name. They're barely fiscally conservative. They're not socially conservative, that's for sure. So they're basically as liberal as the Liberals. So no, you saw how Pierre Poilievre threw Christine Anderson under the bus when she was in Canada. Just completely tossed her under the bus, treated her like absolute garbage. There is no evidence that she has any of the views that he claimed. I've personally met her several times. A wonderful person. She stands for freedom. She stands for liberty. And she was at the Citizens Initiative. She was in the crowd when I was speaking. We spoke on the same stage, and other members of European Parliament, and they are showing immense support for the cause, for my family. They stood up, gave a standing ovation as well as everybody else. They thanked me. They told me that they completely support what we're doing and they stand for us. So internationally, we have many politicians that stand for us. In the United States, there are many congressmen that have stood up for us, senators, U.S. senators, state senators, local representatives from state legislatures. So globally, many politicians stand for us. They understand what the fight is about.
And either of you, I mean, how do you feel when Christians get up and try to make this Liberal government sound like it stands for freedom when people like you are being threatened with 10 years?
Well, Christians have freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Everyone has freedom of religion and freedom of speech as long as you don't do something that the government disagrees with. So
Not
if you talk
freedom.
the party line, then you're completely fine. But if you say something that goes against what they believe, against their agenda, against their ideology, against the political line, well, then you're going to be arrested and ticketed, because that's how the freedom of speech and freedom of religion and all rights and freedoms work in Canada. If you stay in your lane, live your life according to what the Canadian government wants, you'll be fine. But if you do something that steps outside of that, well, then you're going to be hammered and ticketed and arrested and put through the entire system.
But it's time to fight back. It's time to resolve to resist. And that's what we need to do in this country. And that's what we're going to continue to do in the station. So I want to thank you for listening today. Thank you for watching today. I think we've got the information here that people who watch the nightly news aren't necessarily getting. And that's the point. And that's my goal, is to give you that information. So for Krayden's Right, from Stand on Guard, I'm David Krayden, and I'm just happy to be able to talk to you again this week. And I'll be back again soon with more information. Thanks for watching.